Well, that was weird. I pressed go live, was watching, waiting for it to go live, and then it just crashed. I had to start it over. Anyway, should be able to hear me now. Test, test, test. Yep, sorry, mic was muted. My bad. I basically, when I started the stream software crashed and it reset my mic, it reset my camera. Very cool. Very cool. You can hear me? Can you see me? Music was kind of in between songs, so that makes sense. Welcome back. Sorry for the delayed start there. Like I said, I was trying to tell you guys and gals, my computer was having issues when I started the stream. The stream software crashed, so I had to restart the stream software. And then when I started the stream, my mic was off and my cam wasn't zoomed in anymore. It was like a whole bunch of problems that weren't there just moments before. Anyway, welcome back to the damn stream. I hope you had an amazing week. For those that are new here, my name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility available on Steam to help you build. It allows you to build maps for your tabletop campaigns, primarily in a fantasy setting. Today's theme, we're going to be talking about villages and towns. I went through and I found a few kind of small cityscapes. This one in particular was recently put on the workshop, and I find it absolutely enchanting. So throughout the stream, I'd love to discuss towns, villages, cities with y'all. Hey, Chim, welcome back. So we've got Atlam, we've got Asmodeus, we've got Random Ladybird, we've got Chim. Who else do we got here today? Let's do some shout outs, shall we? Shout, shout, let it all out. Just kidding. No one needs to say hello if they don't want to. But welcome one and all to the bi-weekly Dam stream. During today's stream, we'll showcase maps and assets from the Steam Workshop, which is integrated directly into Dungeon Alchemist. So if you own a copy of Dungeon Alchemist, you can access a repository of over 11,700 maps, many of which are absolute fire maps shared by our talented community of cartographers. Additionally, you get access to assets, an asset collection of over 9,700 assets and climbing, getting close to that big 10K. Each of these assets are custom. Some are sourced from third-party sites, some are made by hand. But the big thing with them is they expand your collection of assets into different aesthetics, add different assets that we currently don't have. So you can now do, say, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, Fallout, even semi-modern maps with the assets available. I encourage y'all to check it out. It's quite a prolific collection. Anyway, this particular map is something else. It looks like a lot of effort went into making this. And it looks as if it's forced perspective, so a lot of assets have been shrunk down to kind of give the feel of like this is a singular house that's just been shrunken down, but it looks like a lot bigger city when you're out like kind of far like this. When in reality, each of these assets are like tiny. Let's get the grid on and I'll show you what I mean. Forced perspective is a really clever technique that like photographers use and artists use to make things seem much larger than they are. So, I mean, I highly doubt a tent is like a quarter of a square, right? And I highly doubt a whole city block full of apartments is that small either. Like 3 or 4 squares? No. That would be like normally like a small house or like a tiny home. So this is all forced perspective using assets found on the workshop, because a lot of these are just prefab houses. Building low poly Roman in Insula 4, work in progress. I'm assuming, did you upload these, Asmodeus? Some of these prefabs? Some? Look, there's like a water channel here. Aqueduct. Pretty cool. I'm going to refresh the Steam feed and the TikTok feed because neither of them worked initially. Okay, I've got Steam. So I'm watching Steam chat. If any of y'all have questions, let me know. And I'm refreshing TikTok and I have TikTok chat. Yes, we are back. We are back. Oh, I shouldn't yell like that. I'm regretting it instantly. I feel much better, but I'm still weak and I get winded heckin' easy. And my throat, like if I overdo it, like talking too much or yelling too much, it gets way scratchy. But yeah, I'm on the tail end of it for sure. I got it first in my whole house. I brought it home from my grandpa's house. So it's like I had it first and got over it first, which makes sense. My son got it second and he's pretty much over it. And then my wife, she's still, you know, a little bit sick. She's got a cough. It's a bummer because tomorrow we've got D&D, but she usually is pretty quiet on D&D day unless it's like her turn or like she has a question. So no, so he had COVID like 2 months ago, right? And I was gonna go visit a couple of months ago, but then he got sick and it all fell apart. So I waited for him to get better. And he told me before I came up that he'd been testing negative for like a month. So I drove up, you know, stayed with him for, 5-6 days. During that time, we saw 2 different people. Him, my grandma and grandpa are separated, they're divorced, and then my grandpa's girlfriend, whom I met briefly. And although every time I was either isolating, masked, wearing gloves, like sanitizing, like I wasn't really doing anything where I would be, getting sick. And the day before I left, I tested negative. Day I left, tested negative. Get home, next day I'm sneezing a bit. And guess what? I'm thinking, man, I'm sick, but it is spring, kind of turning into summer, and there's a bunch of flowers like blooming around our house. So I'm thinking it could be allergies. And I'm like, you know what? I'll get tests and test again. So I got some tests tested. Guess what? Totally positive. So within a day and a half of me getting home, I was testing positive. Everyone got it. Sadly. And I did everything I could. I was like sanitizing, wiping surfaces down, spraying things. I got a fogger, like cold fogger machine that you put a sanitizer in and you can like fog your whole area of your home in like moments. Crazy cool, but at the same time, it was too late because it had already been passed around. When I got home, I assumed I was safe. Yeah, it was very scary and very frustrating. it's still kind of, you know, scary, but the first few days she was really, really sick. Fever, vomiting, coughing, chills, aches, pains, like losing lots of fluids. So basically, I was just really worried about her. But then within a couple of days, you know, we got her fever under control. She stopped, you know, all her major symptoms kind of converted more into like mild, you know, or frustrating cold symptoms. So she's still sick going on over a week now, which is frustrating, you know. I would say more than anything, I probably am just in the after effects of COVID where, you know, you're like wiped out, exhausted, winded. Like when I go up and down the stairs, I am wiped out. But I don't know. I think like this is the first time the whole family's gotten COVID. I've gotten it once before and isolated and the family didn't get it. But the whole time during like the pandemic, you know, early on and, you know, through today, you know, now this is like the first time our whole house has gotten sick. My grandma, my grandpa, they didn't get sick, but they are also out and about. They go to like a casino, they go out and eat, they, you know, hang out with people. So they probably gotten COVID a bunch and were just like asymptomatic. Or there was like, you know, still droplet residue in my grandfather's house and I touched something, or, you know, it could have been any number of things I did when I was gone, but I didn't eat out. Like I didn't go to restaurants. I didn't go into gas stations. I got gas before I left and I got gas on before I left on both ends. So once each time. And I'm like always paranoid wearing gloves and a mask and sanitizing and stuff. And I never get sick when I get gas at home. So I don't know. The rental car could be a possibility, but the rental place said they sanitized it for me and then I sanitized it myself. So I don't know. It's like everything that I feel like I covered my bases, but germs are invisible. You can't really see them, you know? Sucks. I did my best and I still got my wife sick, which is terrifying because she's immunocompromised and has like 10% of the immune system we do, or like the average person does, if not less. This map is stunning. I love there's so much verticality to it. Good, like animated assets. Feel like you've got, you know, some vineyards, some gardens. Like, oh, there's all these terraces where you could fill it in with all sorts of stuff. Temples. Great. Defenses. Seems like there's a lot of the defenses on this side, but only a couple on this side. If this side gets overrun, yo. Just kidding. Anyway, let's go on to another map. So, one thing. Yeah, I am hoarse for sure after just a few moments of talking. One bright thing is tomorrow is D&D day, like I said. Oh, it does kind of remind, it feels like Caesar a little bit. Hachi. Looks like it was a single asset, just a single amphitheater. Though I've seen a few different variations of making them before. People use the round walls that are like the curled ones, and they'll size them up and then stack them on each other to make like seats. So one's just a little bit bigger, one's just a little bit bigger. It's been a nightmare, to be honest with you, Highland Lass. I isolated from everyone and still got everyone sick. It kind of was a bummer, depressing to say the least, but it is what it is. Luckily, we all are updated on our vaccinations, and like I think that helped a lot. Like we've been getting our COVID shots like every, you know, probably 6 to 8 months, like clockworks. Haha, you're eating tacos? Nice. I'm jealous, man. I haven't had a taco in a hot minute. Oh, this looks good. Very excited for tomorrow. Everyone did all their downtime stuffs and shopping, and I think we're excited to get into it. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a fight, though, for sure. Rorik's not gonna know what hit him. I'm hoping we can zip through this arc in a single session, but we'll see. We always get hung up on something, you know what I mean? There's always something slowing us down. It's usually loot. We're really good at finding the loot first, and that's what slows us down. Ooh, look at the fighting pit. But yeah, like basically the person who framed us got us all thrown in jail. The reason we all met and escaped prison together, and the reason we are kind of like really our only motivation right now is we try to clear our names. All right. I like small little cityscapes like this. And it's a whole walled city. The one thing though is I think a lot of people fall into the trap of doing a line of a wall like a room, right? So it's like a thick wall with barricades. This works, it's great, and it's like you have structure inside of it. I really enjoy using under objects structural. There's these construction pieces, the platforms. There's like stone ones. So some of these are like really thick, and these can be, that's a 5-foot thick stone piece, right? So there's 10 feet of wall just like that. 15 feet. Good question. Smiffle is their name. And I feel like I shouldn't say that out loud for some reason. Some names I'm always worried to say. So, I haven't really like, hey Loki, how you doing? So I basically I got a new game, a computer game. I don't normally invest in games as of late because I've been just so fixated on D&D, you know, tabletop gaming. And it's nice to just save money, but I've been watching like the news and information and streams on the new Dune Awakening game. And oh my, I could not resist. I snagged that right up. There is an aesthetic to doing the wide walls like this because it feel, you know, you got the hallway through everything where the soldiers can pass through, you know, unobscured. They've got their barracks. It's really nice aesthetic actually. Though this 5-foot wide one would make a slag of like combat or a perfect lightning bolt. So the Dune game is kind of like if you've played, you know, like Ark or Rust or you know Conan Exiles, any of those type of games where it's like a open world sandbox and you can explore and level up and build stuff, basically like that. And but it's in the Dune universe, so set on the planet Arrakis. And it's mostly desert and just like vast rock outcroppings. It's pretty fun. If you like the Dune books or the Dune movies. Yes, it is. Sorry, I should update that. Remember my streaming software or my mouse wasn't working on one computer? And I had to like go in and I had to get a wireless mouse and plug it in, and then that allowed me to shut down the stream. And I just forgot to do this. Yeah. Basically, my keyboard and mouse weren't working on my second computer because the USB plug, it was the hub it was plugged into, crashed. So I had to just plug in a separate USB device to be able to shut down the stream. It was quite fun. Anyway. So yeah, the dude that like got us thrown in jail in my campaign, his name's Rorik. We all kind of just want a piece of him. He basically was trying to send our latest party member into slavery. They were kept in a cage and were being almost turned into a slave, you know? And then, because we rescued them before that could happen. And then we were all thrown in prison by them, or wrongly imprisoned, I might add. And so we essentially just all vowed to get vengeance on this guy and clear our name, because we're kind of just criminals, like outlaws on the run and in hiding. You know, that is a good one. You know, maybe we could just let everyone do their own, but maybe next time. How you doing, Yugoth? What you been up to, my friend? Yeah, this map's got a lot of heart to it, and I love that there's really, like, it's all set up in its own, you know, way, in its own style. There really is no, like, it has to be perfectly on this grid or this alignment, you know what I mean? Glad to hear it, my friend. But in that Dune game, I'm kind of like getting to the point it wants me to travel to another area in advance, and I'm just wrapping up all my side quests in this region. So I'm excited to move on from there. There's like constant sandstorms, sandworms, the heat. There's so many elements trying to kill you, and then other, you know, there's NPCs and other players. Hey AJ, how you doing? I don't know why YouTube isn't updating for me. Someone named Loki said something earlier, and that's all I got. I need to refresh the chat. Yeah, I'm gonna. Hopefully that'll fix it. I like that there's like a whole like garden area kind of kept inside here. Like all the livestock is in this separate walled area. It's a nice little town. The market's quite fancy. Hey Devin, thank you for the roses. Much appreciated. How you doing today, my friend? I see that. See that. This little setting though, it looks really nice. We got a dog. Ooh, wow. I like that little market stall and the guy T-posing. So currently, when it comes to trying addressing world maps or regional or large maps, I recommend using a combination of what's called force perspective, and then using objects from both the objects that we offer and then the ones that are added on the workshop. because objects have so much more functionality to them than, say, the room draw tool when it comes to that scale of a map. So what a lot of people will do is they use objects to represent, you know, small cities or villages that are a handful of objects grouped together. So at a distance, it looks like a village. And that's where the forced perspective comes in. If you get on our workshop here under the if you go to Steam Workshop, browse maps, and then just type like city or even region is a great thing to search. There's quite a few. And you can find not this one. Let's try a world. I know I found a few in the past, but the problem is finding the right ones because they're done like really well. Stand by. Let's try overworld. I feel like I'm searching the wrong thing. Oh well. Well, this one's an amazing example though. It's a Legend of Zelda map. And it's an overworld. Tinyscape, yeah, that can help too. But essentially, you take the objects and you make them small, put them all together to make like a small village or, you know, maybe like an encampment. Oh, thank you. Appreciate you. And by using forced perspective and making everything smaller, it feels like a much larger map. This map is insanely massive, so hope you're ready. This is like the whole overworld region for Legend of Zelda. So this one's kind of an extreme example. Where every time I'm looking for one particular, this is another great example. Taylor Ugoth really knocked it out of the park with it. But there's a particular one of a region I'm looking for, and it looks like several little villages kind of peppered all over the map, and I'm just... Could even just be like a Faerun map. Might even just have to search that. Sorry, there's over 11,000 maps now, so it's hard to remember every name of every map. So, Eric, I don't know if you're watching or listening still, but we all kind of have sore throats and stuff, so tomorrow we may not be as talkative. Test. I like that I can just bring the mic over to me. This is intended to be like a whole area, a massive city. Encampment outside of it, you know, siege engine of some sort. This thing's an incredible build, but it was all of this is just objects, little houses that are prefabs that you can move as this tiny, as this whole piece. If you look at the grid, it's much smaller stuff. So imagine doing this on a bigger scale. You don't have to make a huge grandiose city like this. You could tuck together 10, 20 things and a little wall around it. And you're like, oh, this is this city, you know? Pretty easy on a grander scale because it doesn't need as much detail when you're far away. This one is it. There we go. It's like the whole Faerun map. See if I can load this. Still not getting YouTube in the feed today. That's frustrating. Map is big. It's gonna take a moment to load. And it might even say this, and I'm just gonna hit wait. We're gonna wait. Yeah, after Loki's comment, no more have come through. That's what I'm saying. It's like the YouTube feed crashed. Well, I'm loading a very massive map that's supposed to be Faerun. Like 200 plus, 200 plus, so we're just trying to crash the stream, basically. I'll search it in a bit, Jim. How you doing, Joseph? Yeah, sadly, YouTube has just crashed the chat feed. Bummer. Come on, map. Don't let me down. Hold on. Glad to hear it. Hey. Think the map loaded or DA crashed? Hey, it's loading. Victory! Even though the Elgato crashed. We'll get there. This particular one's like 250 by 250. It's pretty big. It's gonna take a minute. One of the bigger maps on the workshop. Like one of the larger maps available. Wow. Hey, thank you, AJ. Appreciate that. So the one thing this person didn't do is make the spine of the world white, like, because you can use the red or the a lot of people don't know this is a little hack. You go into the rocks. For some reason, these sandstone rocks can be recolored into like any coloration. So you can turn them into that, which makes them snow. But for the most part, this is pretty accurate. I would just fill in the spine of the world area with, you know, white patched rocks and stuff like that. But like, dang, check this out. And then they just represent each like town with like a single house. Because they're just a speck. Trying to think here. I think this is Waterdeep right here. Maybe this. No, maybe that. No, it's this one. Anyway, this is quite insane. You know, I can't really speak to that, unfortunately, Weavy, but probably not if I had to say based on what I've been told by the devs. The thing is it's not like this is just a color. This is a like a very, very, very carefully painted wallpaper that is smoke and mirrors applied to this. So when we add a color slider to anything, it's a hue changer more than anything. It's not adding a different color, it's changing the hue of the existing wallpaper. And the reason they don't want to give an RGB thing is because once you do that, it changes the whole thing to a solid color, not like this intricately detailed thing. So it would kind of ruin most assets. I need a 5090. Currently got a 4070, and I think it's adequate. Hey, Lilandra. And it's an artistic choice more than anything, Weavy. The devs want the assets to look really good, so it is. This is like a world map. And the map is... How big is it? One of the largest maps on the workshop. 257 by 254. Absolute monster of a map. Okay. Since this thing is making my computer scream. Village type map. And this one was just a little town with like a lot of freestanding object houses that we found on the workshop. Tons of these. Modius and several other creators who... Oh, there's a house on a house here. In fact, there's a few of them like that. I think one thing a lot of people forget to do when they're building in top down is to take a look at an angle and see what it looks like. Are things hovering? Are they in the right proportions? But overall, I'd say this one has really good proportions. Buying houses. Okay. Sorry. I don't know what just happened. I got zoned out looking at the map. I was just like staring at it. Snapped myself out of it. It's a really, really well done map though. and has like a neat aesthetic and feel to it. Probably took forever to carve out all these little roadways by hand. I really definitely respect the grind. Oh. You know, I'll be honest with you, the guide on our wiki is the most extensive one available, short of hopping in our Discord and spinning up a support thread in the support forum. Basically, the reason I recommend the Discord support thing is we have several, you know, prolific creators, sharers in our community who use Blender and know it inside and out. There's also a plugin you can get that was created by a member in our community that speeds up the process. There's several creators who will jump in typically and guide you through it. But one thing I remember them saying is it has to be set as principal BDSF. And then this plugin that was created by one of our, you know, sharers really speeds up the process because it sets the correct you know, vertices and correct you know, orientation and everything. So when you import it into DA, it's like optimized for it. So AJ, if you're not a member of our Discord, highly recommend going over and hopping in, and then hopping into the support forum there, and then spin up a thread and let us know about your issues and we can guide you. But if you're already looking at the guide on the wiki, the 3D import guide, and it has, you know, a reference to Blender and some other things, beyond that, there are some videos that creators in our community have made and stuff like that. But I think, you know, this first step, trying to get that first model to work correctly, is always tricky because it's a combination of knowing how to use Blender and knowing how to use DA and everything in between. Night Vision Blender script, is that what it is, Asmodeus? Anyway, I still recommend they spin up a thread because then we can look at the model and go from there. I gotta get some groceries today. Not thrilled about that. But, you know, I gotta have schnickety snacks, so for D&D tomorrow, right? We all kind of each picked a treat, and we got some foods that are like just easy to eat, grab and go, so none of us have to focus too much on making a meal while we're kicking butt. I like the little sand farms here. Artful Darkness, thank you for all the hearts. Much appreciated. Heartful Darkness, we should say. But I'm here all week, so got dad joke zingers for days. And we did this one, we did this one, we did this one, we did this one. Let's check out this one. Yeah, that's kind of how Blender is, especially. It's a very user-driven experience. And then when you start combining Dungeon Alchemist with that, Dungeon Alchemist also is a very user-driven experience, but we're also in early access, so it's like ever-changing. So things like, the asset importer weren't here just, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And they've added so much value to Dungeon Alchemist. Oh man, what is this called? Bridge covered. I need that so bad. I think when I search covered bridge, and because that comma doesn't find it. Naming convention's fine for filing, but not for Steam. Lovely little village. Look at that. Oh my god. Layout is perfect. Oops. Gonna say, AJ, if you hop in to... We have the support forum here, right? So if you get into Discord, go to the support tab. Go to the support forum. And then type in the name, or just click new post, right? And then type in the title. So Blender to DA import inquiries, something like that. Of course, I'm just typing like a dummy. Then you type in a message, you can give it a tag, which I highly recommend, okay? And then you can even add images. And then once you spin up the thread, it creates its own custom thread just for you. And the moderators, myself, and other staff members, community members will jump in and provide support. Hey, Law of the Jungle, how you doing? But being able to get support, directly from either staff or a moderator or a really talented community member almost all hours of the day, even over the weekend, it's really helpful. Some people find it odd that we ask you to create like a little thread, but when we do that, it tracks your problem inside of your thread until it's fixed. That way it's like, hey, if we could send it up to the devs, they're like looking into a solution. At least there's tracking and information and, dates, and we can send files and images and videos, map files, so much more convenient than traditional, like all other methods. So, Law of the Jungle, Dungeon Alchemist doesn't really have Fog of War in it at the moment, and it's primarily because it's first and foremost a map-making tool, in not so much a gameplay tool. Now, that being said, there's plenty of people in our community who, use it for localized play, for like TV tabletops or printed maps. But when you're playing online, through virtual tabletops, you have more options for Fog of War. I don't know if you play online at all, or if you play with a virtual tabletop for local play, or can you give me a little bit more information about your table and how you intend to run your games? Is it local? Is it online? Is it, printed? Is it TV tabletop? Let's get all the details. The more I know, the more I can kind of guide you towards a solution. By the way, if any of you have questions during the stream, these streams are considered AMA, which means Ask Me Anything. So if you have any Dungeon Alchemist related questions, let me know and I will do my best to guide you. Whether you want to see information about our latest and greatest update, Fun with Objects, how's it coming along, what's going to be in it. Maybe you have a support inquiry, you need assistance right now. If it's something I can help you with right now on the stream, I will do my best to guide you. When it comes to Blender stuff, AJ, hate to say it, I'm not the best authority on that. I know about this much about 3D modeling and importing 3D models, enough to get myself in trouble, but not enough to be helpful. You know what I mean? Hey, I can see YouTube. Square Peg, how you doing? Welcome. Or at least I saw that one. Gotcha. So what I would recommend is, because you're using a TV tabletop, right? And you have a computer feeding it, I would use a virtual tabletop software in tandem with Dungeon Alchemist. There are some that are free. There are some that cost like a one-time fee. For instance, one I use is called Foundry. And Foundry is great for online play, but also for local play. because it has support through add-ons called modules. They're like mods for your application, and one of them supports localized play, so every token shares the same vision, meaning you have Fog of War on the map, and as you move the group, they have Fog of War relative to where they are and what they can see. Meaning, as they reveal the map, it reveals it. But if they go into a house, they can't see in the house unless they're like at a window or have some kind of ability to see in the house, or they're technically inside of it. Does that make sense? So that would support it kind of more locally for that, especially if you're using a TV tabletop. Now, another thing you can do with a TV tabletop is go a more analog solution. I've seen people in our community, they'll cut out like, that like kind of, it's like a cotton fiber that they use to make spider webs around Halloween. You could take that and make clouds and kind of put them on top of your screen to cover areas. Alternatively, I've seen people cut out like construction paper roofs and put them over things. So you can get a little creative with like an analog solution. Another user in our community just puts a dark sheet over the table and only reveals what they want them to see. And then lastly, when you're in top down, you have your grid on and you turn off the user interface, just be careful. Whatever you reveal also could act as Fog of War. So really only just have them in an area on the map. Don't zoom in and out much because that'll resize your squares, but just kind of move the map as they move. So you could use DA by itself if you wanted to, but you create the Fog of War, i.e. they really only see what is visible at this time. Oh no, Joseph. Well, I see your chat now. I see Joseph's chat now, so I don't know what's going on. Whatever it was, it's definitely, or is, it's something funky. I hope these help, Law of the Jungle. The problem is you're trying to use Dungeon Alchemist in a way it's not really intended. It's really meant to make maps, and then you export those maps to be used in another tool or program that is better suited for it. We make the best, beautiful, top-down, 3D looking maps. You can generate them in moments, or you can spend hours building detailed, intricate maps. But it's not really intended for gameplay. Now, that being said, because you're doing TV tabletop play, you do kind of have some options, i.e. things like hiding the user interface, putting the grid on. Those two things work in tandem to make a really good TV tabletop experience. The problem is, like you said, your players will see things if you move around or zoom out, or so you need to make a conscious decision. If you're going to use this as a tool, you kind of have to make you got to have some give and take, right? Or if you add in another tool to your tool belt, like I always say, a carpenter can't make a cabinet with just a hammer. They need a tape measure, they need chisels, they need saws, they need all these different things to be more effective and make a beautiful cabinet, right? A DM, storytelling is part of your repertoire, your tool belt. Maybe you got some sound effects, or you set up a whole beautiful room down in your basement with a TV tabletop. Maybe you've got years of experience as a storyteller, but I think having the correct tools can also really help you as a DM. So you have Dungeon Alchemist to make maps and make beautiful immersion stages, but then if you plug it into, say, Above VTT or Roll20 or Foundry, you could add in some modules that support localized TV play, and it would work much better. In fact, it would add things, that you're not even considering, like inventory management for your players. So it's a digital storage instead of just a sheet. So they have maybe a backup, a physical and a digital. Alternatively, you can do things like effects and stuff like that, like spell effects. So when your players cast a firebolt, you see the firebolt on screen. Yes, Law of the Jungle. I highly recommend that route. You make the map in Dungeon Alchemist, export it to a virtual tabletop. Foundry is the one I personally use, and I know for a fact they have modules available that support localized TV tabletop play. Once you get into Foundry and kind of learn it, there's modules that you can add on that you can download. Like there's one for dice called Dice So Nice. There's one for effects called FX Master. But you export in a top-down view. When you export for DA, set it to Foundry. You can set it as an image, or you can do an animated loop map. Depending on the size of the map, though, you know, you may not want to do an animated map. But when you export for virtual tabletop, make sure you disable that grid. You don't need the grid anymore because the grid is supported in Foundry. They have amazing grid tools, colors for the grid. You could set the grid to different sizes or different shapes, you know, different stuff like that. For localized play, Highland Lass, or online? I mean, yeah, you can in tandem, right? Load up a token in, and then they can, once they've seen the top down, they could be like, if they ask, you could be like, this is what your player sees. This is their eye view, right? So you could go into a token view and show them this little shack in the back corner once they've arrived. I've played on tables where the DM does that, and it's a lot of fun. It's very, very immersive, especially if you're more of a visual learner. You know, some people are auditory, some people are visual, some people have a very brilliant mind's eye. So it really helps, especially I found with younger players, to have a visual representation that they could see it from their own eyes. Funny. AJ on YouTube says, I don't know who needs this, but I'm AJ and I endorse Foundry VTT. But yeah, Foundry and Dungeon Alchemist are a beautiful pairing. Foundry, Dungeon Alchemist and Fantasy Grounds are a great pairing. I mean, we pick the virtual tabletops we work with to make, you know, our compatibility both based on, you know, their, you know, user like acceptability and ease of use, and also just widely accepted across the market, but also because they make a good product, you know? Love this. Can you all do me a favor real quick? If you are enjoying the stream, can you please make sure that you smash that follow, subscribe button, whatever it is on your platform of choice. That way you can find us in the future when we're live later. We stream 3 times a week, unless, of course, I'm sick with COVID like I have been the last week and a half. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Today's stream is called The Damn Stream. It's a highlight, a focus, showcase, if you will, on assets and 3D models and maps that we find on the Steam Workshop, shared by our community members. This map is no exception to that. It is built and shared by a community member, and it's full of custom assets that were shared on the Steam Workshop as well, which add a personalized feel to it that you don't get necessarily when you build with stock DA assets, unless, you know, you have a lot of experience really customizing and hand building your maps. So this map has a really personalized feel to it. The village is a neat aesthetic, comfortable little town. You know, I'm feeling much better, but I still have a ways to go, you know what I mean? I just feel like weak and tired all the time. And hard to breathe and stuff like that, but overall, like, good. But if I have to like trek up and down the stairs or go like play with the dog for a bit to like run around, and oh my gosh, I'm panting in like a few minutes. I definitely am gonna have to rebuild my lung capacity and like, yeah. And the worst part is everyone in the house had it, and it's still kind of rough. So it's like, I'm definitely over it, but my voice is rough, like after talking, and I can feel it's hoarse and scratchy. My son's pretty much done with it all. My wife she is still a little sick and has a ways to go. So we're hoping we don't just like ring around the rosy and pass it around and everyone gets sick. That's the hope for now. And this village is great. Yeah, it does. It does. It does. Great big bucket of bummer balls. But, you know, we're almost through it. And that's what matters, you know. Mrs. Mac is doing much better overall. And I think she's only a few days away from just being all healed up, you know, which is great. One thing I'm going to do is just start getting on the bike. I have a workout bike. I have a little small house gym, like a home gym. And it's how I really stayed healthy, like during the pandemic and stuff. So I'm gonna do that. Just like hit the bike, stretch a lot, work out a bit, try and get myself kind of back into a groove of breathing and build up my stamina, my lung capacity again, and also just lose some weight. Because I have kind of a sedentary lifestyle, you know, being the community manager. I kind of just sit at my computer a lot, play with a lot of maps, and talk about a lot of tabletop gaming. And as a result of which, I, you know, kind of, I'm a bit unhealthy at the moment, a little overweight. I'll admit it. For me, I feel like I'm personally at a point where I'm not healthy. So I've actually committed to start losing weight and working out again. So that's something I'm gonna. Standing desk. Oh, you know, that sounds cool, but I'm flat-footed and I don't want to reorganize my whole office and desk space around a new desk. Yeah, I'm so sorry, everyone. Each and every one of us have really had to deal with it in our own lives, and it's affected everyone kind of so drastically different. It's crazy, even in our own home, we all got like wildly different symptoms, but all tested positive for COVID. Like my son didn't sneeze or cough and didn't have a sore throat till the end. He was just like weak and chills and fever. I had sneezes and coughs and runny nose and you know, and then my wife, she had like vomiting. And so it's like all of us had different major symptoms. It was annoying to try and like figure out what to do with someone each time there was something else popping up. Yeah, I honestly like I just jobs where I have to stand all day messes me up typically. Like I've done retail and sales jobs and I've done like construction jobs where I'm like expected to stand all day and it just messes me up. So I've got an office job. Typically the office ones work out for me until I got sciatica. That's kind of where I was at Highland Lass. I didn't want my wife overdoing it. She was fragile and really weak and just wiped out and all her fluids gone and fever. And so I was taking care of business. I did like dishes and made food and brought everyone water and just took care of everyone while I was sick. But I was like, now that we're all sick, I am going to start sleeping on my bed again because I've been isolating in the living room, sleeping on a couch. Not comfortable at all. Oh, I love this part back here, this little private estate and garden. Well, the worst part is I spent like 5-6 days sleeping on an air mattress at my grandfather's, came home, slept on my bed for one night, and then the next day my wife was sick, or I was sick, so I started isolating. I was like, I slept on a couch for like a week and a air mattress for a week. So I was definitely not like feeling it in my back and neck. I was not enjoying it. It is a lovely map. Very well done. Lots of like, you know, neat little pathing and aesthetic to it. I would love to visit this place. Uh-oh, what happened up here? Yeah, it's a much better now. I got back on my own bed. I'm also like really good at stretching my back and neck. I'll go lay down on our gym mat and I grab like a 25-pound weight and I'll lay it on my chest and I'll just breathe. And it'll like lean forward and tip and do crunches and my whole like back and neck pop. It's very fun. Yeah, this is a beautiful map. Does anyone have any suggestions for interesting or nice looking village and city maps? Pardon me. So I don't know if y'all heard, but Wednesday I was authorized to share like a fun little random sneak peek of Fun with Objects in its current state. I was talking to Wim the other day and I just said, hey, you know, how would you feel about me sharing the current build of, you know, the dev test in office hours just to kind of see what people think? And he was like, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. Doesn't hurt to ask, right? Anyway, so Wednesday. No, sadly, it's not quite the same as that. It was just a fun little random sneak peek. That being said, I kind of want to just load it up again and take a look, but I haven't been given permission, so I probably shouldn't. They also have had a trouble with the updater this week. Our we call it Bob the Builder. He compiles, builds the builds automatically, and uploads them to Steam. So I always have like a semi recent build. But the problem is Bob isn't working. He's broken right now. He breaks like once a month, and it's frustrating. Anyway. Pull up some teasers. It's doing it again. Wow. Having the problem. I wonder what's going on with the USB on my computer. Gonna have to switch. Alexander, the best date I can give right now is beginning of July at the moment. Most likely sometime in July. It could even be delayed till the end of July. Kind of a bummer. Give me one moment, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. It looks like my KVM thing, USB thing, is doing that thing again, so I don't know what's going on with my stream computer, but when I try to switch over, it just isn't working, and I restart the computer. Fine. Mouse. Problem. What I get for trying to do everything on one mouse and keyboard. So in this clip, if you kind of blink, you'll miss it. It shows how easy it is to transition between levels. You can transition between, different floors or add floors rather easily. You can do so by either clicking the plus or minus key on your keyboard, or by clicking on this new little element over here in the UI. There'll be arrows indicating, up or down. But basically, you start on the base floor. You can draw your floor plan, and then once you're done with that, click up to go up, or down to go down if you're in a terrain biome. In this particular biome, you cannot do that. So the dark parchment biome isn't technically ground, so there's no underground. Anyway. With any luck, I should be getting a master list of everything in the next that'll make it into the next update very soon, which will allow me to start making teasers and a trailer. My hands are kind of tied at the moment because I have no idea what's going to make the final cut. And I wouldn't want to make a trailer showing things or teasers showing things that aren't going to be in the final cut of this update. Oh man, I am excited for. Got a whole list of new spells. I had a bunch of money and I spent. I only have a little bit left. I bought some cool magical items because we have downtime shopping and we're in like a big. And our patron has like a lot of stuff available that we can buy too. Kind of went ham. A couple new spells, made scrolls, bought some magical items. All decked out. Anyway, in this clip, if you pay attention, it shows some interesting called abstract light. The new type of light source allows you to add light to your map. There's a spotlight or a normal lantern, and the light stays present upon export, but the light housing is. So if you see here dark, add the light sources, and then change from, showing the light sources to no longer having the light sources present, but the light they shed remains. That's exactly how. Still, I should. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. Stand by. We've got 45 minutes left. Kind of an order of operations to make this work, though. I got to load into a blank map. Then I got to exit DA. If I'm in like a regular map, when I load into the dev build, it usually crashes because a lot of stuff isn't supported from previous builds at the moment. Getting changed. Oh. So I have a beta here. That's how I update into it. Sadly, I can't have both of them on at the same time, like the beta build and the non-beta build. Anyway. Technically, I had permission the other day, so I don't know what's changed. Right? You're in and it didn't crash. Okay. Turn the music back on. Quiet all this. The balcony. Something's up with my build. I can't draw the balcony. Try a different one. It's like not allowing me to draw a balcony outside the room. It like has to be on top of another room. Balconies should be. What's really nice is how quickly you can change rooftop. Like if you're not vibing with a roof, and Throw on another one. What do you mean? Should be able to come out here, like off the edge of it. There we go. I just had to do something weird to make it work because draw outside the room. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. What I did is I removed the part of the balcony I wanted it to keep. Now what I'm gonna do is do something like a ladder or something. Then you can go into like this panel here. Like that. Like that. Not bad. Oh. Drop a token, see how navigable. Whoa. What the junk? I can see up through the ceiling. That's so weird. Look at this land. This is my land. All right. Whoa. When you're under stuff, it is broken. When you're above it, there is a floor. See? Okay. This is what I want when I'm thinking of having invisible ceilings that block out all light. Why can't we have a ceiling that we can see through like this, but the other way around instead of it being a floor, and then it blocks out all the sun? It would be invisible on top of all this. Everywhere there's a roof or a wall, it would have an invisible liner that's see-through, kind of like a one-way mirror, but then it blocks light from getting in, but allows you to see in and put stuff inside. Where every time I try to explain this, I feel like I sound stupid. Like, we can make a floor fit the perfect space, so why not a ceiling that's flat, glass one way, and then it just blocks out all of the light from the external sources, from at least top down. Right now, that light's getting in from the outside source. I don't like it. It'd be like an invisible ceiling that perfectly fits this shape. Anyway, let me gripe some more. Definitely is pretty cool, though. This is another thing. I don't think roofing would do this. Let me explain. Because this puts a point where water can build up and it won't run off. This roof should meet up with this wall right here. This spine should go all the way to the edge. And then it would run off down the sides like this and have some like metal fascia or a gutter that it runs down. So this here doesn't make sense. It should extend to that point right there. That's where this, I don't know. For people, I don't know. I did roofing for a number of years, and this, to me, does this, like this one part. All the rest, it has good drainage, except for right there. Well, hoping with time it gets better. It looks amazing. I just think it needs a little bit of fine tuning. But I'm glad they opted to do angled roofing instead of just flat roofing. Because they were thinking of doing just something like this, right? For the first iteration. Lyzerg, it'll likely be launching in July is probably the best estimate at the moment. Typically, though, like in the US, you won't see roof running into a point where it'll collect. There's always got to be a drainage, or typically the roof would be seamed right up against this and then drain down sideways. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't think there'll be any freestanding roofs. I like that roofing. It looks good. The like terracotta tile. No, anime man. This is a dev build. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. This is our official channel. So I'm showing you all kind of a teaser of the upcoming release. So this is kind of this is the state of the internal build at the moment. it crashed. Gotcha. Sorry, a lot of people will tune in and just assume that it's just like a regular stream. AJ, you can go 5 levels below and 5 levels up at this time. They just crashed it though. Hey, we'll talk later, Eric. See you later, man. What I'm going to try and do, hear me out. I'm going to break DA. What did I just do? Crashed again. Weird. It just crashed big time. Well, I might have cheesed the dev build so bad it won't load anymore. I'm gonna try. I'm mostly worried about the misses at the moment. Appreciate it though, Eric. Six by 6, going for a circle. Now, generate. First level. Whoa. That. Generate floor 2. Now, this is where I'm going to get a little tricky. Don't crash. Oh, it did. Well, I keep breaking it trying to do a balcony. It's a bummer when I'm trying to do something cool and it breaks. I'm just going to do it as like a normal shape. Doesn't like that. It like hits that center room and it thinks it's a completely different plane. So weird. Finally. For sure, AJ, for sure. Welcome to my brew tower. I have a little covered, like a little like eating area. All this on a tiny little brewery. What the heck did I just make? What is that? I like it. But that's another great example. You wouldn't let all this water bleed in. It looks cool, but this would all meet up to this and be like latticed up around it, like a piece of paper wrapped around a cylinder. Right? That's not right. That doesn't. It looks cool, but it just makes zero sense from a roofer's standpoint. I gotta save this and share it with the bosses. With the bosses. Like a boss. Here, hold on, let me save this first. Okay, we're gonna change this to be like a Oh, looks pretty good. Oh my goodness. There's that. Hi. Mom gave you a bath? Oh my goodness, Mom must be feeling a bit better. Are you okay? Are you okay? You chilly? The pupperito? Is it chilly? Hey, baby. I'll give it to her. Covers. Go freeze them. So good, babe. Why is it so cold? What's around with it? I'm gonna make this round balcony work. Don't crash. Don't. Yes! I did it. Kind of. like a squircle. Look what I've created. Lincoln Logs. All right. I think that's enough of a preview today, though. Pretty cool, some of the stuff you can make, but yeah, the roofs kind of make some nonsense at times. Like this. Wouldn't it meet up at the cylinder and run off perfectly instead of giving this pool to build up? Unless, of course, this is actually doubling as a water tower. Anyway. It looks cool, like in a fantasy setting, it looks neat. This is definitely kind of a slice of the new update. We're just kind of showing how you can build multi-levels and wonky roofs and stuff, but still a lot of work to go. Multi-level doesn't have a set launch date yet, but the best I guess of an estimate I can get right now is sometime in July, most likely. Like the top looks great. It just seems like when there's two roofs that can join together and it raises above, it doesn't meet up right there. Does that make sense? Anyway, I saved this to send to the devs so they can take a look at it. Can you imagine the amount of work that would go into rounding a log into making it be the outside of this too? You have to have some insane, huge steamer to fit a log that size in it, and then you bend it after and frame it. Could we move the roof ridges? You can't move it. It auto-generates it. That's pretty much it. You can change the roof type. Some roofs have shallower ridges than others. Some of them have like a barricade little thing, and others don't at all. You'll have to take it up with the big bosses. I've told them that I think it should have a more natural feel to it, but I think we're kind of at the point that good enough is good. We've delayed and delayed and delayed to get to a point where it looks realistic and reasonable. So they'll probably update it later to have more gutter options or runoff options, but it'll probably be a little wonky. All right, everyone. I think I'm going to wrap it up a few minutes early. My throat is killing me. I'm going to go sip some cool water, take a cough drop or two, and then actually eat some lunch before I go to the grocery store. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out today. I had a lot of fun being here. The damn stream is always super fun. And remember, we'll be back on Monday with the Map Maker Monday stream. I'll be live working on my ancient cemetery for y'all to tune in and watch and learn. It's coming along, and we're actually making a lot of progress each week. We're kind of working on an area I've dubbed, well, because of suggestions, the sardine can, which is essentially just tons of graves packed in, like as many as we can, like pauper graves. Essentially exactly how it sounds, like a sardine can. But the point of this map is to teach y'all different techniques for your own builds, to kind of help people come up with ideas for storytelling for their own worlds, and to teach advanced techniques and answer questions in real time during a long-term build that isn't something we do in a few hours. So if any of you want to tune in on Monday, that's at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. C. If you want to tune in, ask questions, get live support, and learn tips and tricks for your own builds, primarily a massive cemetery, be sure to tune in. But this area here is what we're working on right now. Oh, sorry, I didn't end up searching those terms, but I did find a few that are pretty good. This will be another great example of something like that, where I'm using forced perspective to really just cram in a lot of stuff in a small amount of space. I've been framing out this walkway by hand, doing it a little bit at a time, and it's really coming along. Some parts I'm like, what am I going to do here? And then I end up coming up with a solution, filling it in with some, benches or a little planter or a statue or something. But we'll be working down this side, hopefully get down to about here-ish, maybe here. Because I'm putting in graves custom one at a time. We were filling in these little displays last time with unique items, because it's like that's also packing in a lot of graves here. With the columbariums. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. We'll see you Monday. Hope you enjoy your weekend. But until next time, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Back out. Bye. End the stream on this side, hopefully. Thank you everyone for being here. Enjoy your weekend. Back out.